So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vernelle Noel. I was at the University of Florida where I met Oshubi, and I'm so happy that I met him. I'm now at Georgia Tech in the School of Architecture, a dual appointment in the School of Architecture and the School of Interactive Computing. In my work, I'm an architect. I teach architecture, but I look at making practices. So traditional making practices, or what we might call low-tech craft practices, high-tech automated practices, technology, AI, however we want to term emerging technologies, and how these things intersect in society. I'm the director of the Situated Computation and Design Lab here at Georgia Tech, an interdisciplinary lab that does all the awesome things that Oshubi cares about, right? So architecture, design, technology, innovations, and questions around those things. And the main problems I address in my work are around disappearance or erasure of people's knowledges and communities, the omission or exclusion of certain people's knowledges and communities from discourses in design, my field of computational design, architecture, art, etc., and understanding the effects of automation alongside human welfare, because this usually impacts society's least privileged. Why to undo damages that have occurred and continue to occur, to continue contribute to how we think about knowledge, to improve all these like processes and technologies, and to consider larger social implications for the things we might do. I'll skip over this, but in my work, part of my work involves developing research frameworks. And so this framework I developed around an approach to how we in our field think through and develop technologies in design, which I call a situated computations approach. And it asks that we refuse to remain ignorant of social and political structures that shape the tools and technologies we use in the field of computational design and in the architecture, because we have a long way to go when it comes to understanding the social implications of our work and our communities. Also work around data. My work, I do a lot of ethnographic work in my research and my studies. This is an example of a craft practice of wire bending that is dying. It's wire bending specific to Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago, and this work started in 2013 with my attempting to make that dying knowledge explicit so that it can be shared and can continue as wire benders are dying, the craft is dying. And so this is an example of a grammar, one part of many different parts of it to describe this craft, then repatriating that knowledge, so going back to Trinidad to test, shared workshops, etc., to observe how the tool performs, what it does. This involves teaching the tool, developing or thinking through ways of inserting technology into these practices to open up those who want to practice within that context and outside, and thinking about it beyond the confines of Carnival, but what it might mean for architecture. This means creating critical software, using computer-controlled machines in design and fabrication, and again, pedagogy, how we, I think, through repair in terms of restoration, remediation, and reconfiguration of practices, community, social engagement, etc. And by researching this craft, different expressions of architectures and structures, so building on wire bending and 3D printing, digital design, etc., new lightweight structures that might be possible, pulling from costuming in Carnival and characters in Carnival. This is another structure and yet another that my students and I made using this craft of wire bending. Last year, I won a grant from the Graham Foundation, where I will be in October, hopefully, exhibiting sort of this work around wire bending and these histories and reimaginations around design in Carnival. Recently in September, I launched a project that was funded by Mozilla. I got it while I was at UF, but the project, or Mozilla's call, was around artificial intelligence and racial justice. The project was launched in September. Feel free to check it out. In particular, looking at how we might use AI to reimagine design and the design of dancing sculptures in Carnival, and what that might mean for new imaginations of structures for re-engaging people in the practice. It also involved considering digital heritage, especially during the pandemic. We haven't been able to have Carnival, so how do we make these digital spaces to celebrate our histories, connect with each other, etc. You can check this out. These are just some AI generated images. And the exhibition, the online exhibition, celebrates three main aspects of Carnival, that being design of dancing sculptures, or Juve, and or Mass. And that's just a quick kind of wrap up of what I do. Thank you very much.
Dr. Noel, yeah. As always, blowing everybody's mind. Let me start again with a thank you for sharing and helping our community and family to understand who is in the room. I'm excited to continue to follow the work, specifically the work that you're doing in this concept of taking traditional practice and beginning to look at it through the lens of emerging technology. I think that is, in many ways, the keys to what the future is. Not what the future is going to be, but literally what the future is. And this negotiation of digital space as environments for cultural gathering is critically important. No one would have told you in 2022 we would still be at a spot where people are still uncertain to gather. And so much of our cultural practice is about bringing people literally together in the same space. And so that negotiation, as that continues, that your work is having that conversation and looking at that is so really critically important. And we're excited to continue to track the process and also pass that information on. So thank you. I'm gonna open the floor for questions before I throw mine out, but I just wanted to start there. If anybody has any questions past the amazing comments that were hitting the chat as you were talking, but I open the floor for any questions. Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe not a question as much of a request. This was fascinating. We and this isn't just for Vernelle, but I'm asking Vernelle specifically. For a little of her time, maybe we've got a team of PhD and master's students working on a business plan right now in the area of historical preservation, and they're trying to leverage the blockchain technology to help drive more funding and support of cultural preservation, and not just buildings and architecture, but certainly languages and culture, etc. And I'm wondering if I might just pair you guys up, even if you could give them 30 minutes just to ask some tough questions, because it sounds like you have unique technological backgrounds in this area that you could lend some perspective to, and I think it would help spark some of their creative thinking. And so if you don't mind, I'll try to make that linkage, and I'll let you guys work out maybe some timing to link up. And that goes for anybody in the room as well. It's a unique team based here on campus, and we'll see where they end up in our big competition coming up this spring. But trying to elevate plans beyond just more wine bars and laundry services. So this is kind of something that could be impactful, and I know very little about it, so I want to leverage the experts. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Jamie, that's a great question. And both Trent and Vernelle, if possible, if you all could send me copies of these presentations just so that I can have them in my back pocket as I'm going through different things. We're in a moment where there's a lot of always interesting opportunities, and sometimes those presentations help to jog my memory as I play matchmaker in the same way that Jamie is presenting on this end. Any other questions before I take us in a slightly different direction? Comments, feedbacks, besides what's in the chat? Okay.
I'd like to ask no,
go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm just curious about if you come across issues of access when you're talking about the digital world, and say you're interacting in Trinidad outside of maybe the city, how have you tackled that, if you've confronted that at all?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So my questions are always around the computational. That doesn't have to be digital, right? So for example, that grammar, it's all drawings that you could do with hand and paper, and navigating between sort of a hybrid of low tech and high tech, and sometimes trying to reverse engineer so that that question of access in many ways is dealt with, because the culture I come from isn't highly technological, right? So doing the translation of how we get computational thinking practices done that are low tech also is a charge.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.